Yo, what's going on, Hoops Tribe? I am here with the critically acclaimed. This was like a highly requested guest, ARP. What's going on, fam? You got to introduce yourself to my fan base. I'm going to introduce myself to your fan base. Like, I'm just happy to be here. I'm giving you the floor right now.
Do I get to say what's up, Hoops Tribe? Like, I feel like I'm on a celebrity show. So my name is Angela. I also do basketball content and mostly TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and also Threads. Since I love Threads. That's something I'm really starting to get into. But yeah, mostly videos. Not a whole lot of just like text posts, but I need to start doing that sometimes too because I will just stop whatever I'm doing to try to make a video real quick, and I'm like, this could have been an email. I probably could have just typed this out. But no, I gotta make a whole video. So yeah, and I go to a lot of games in person.
I was about to say,
College.
you like besties with the players at this point. She trying to be modest, y'all. She like Angel Reese bestie.
I mean, I might get an invite to Thanksgiving. I'm delusional enough to believe it's gonna happen. The fact that her mom stopped me and said she liked my content, I was like, that's it. I'm adoptable. Okay. But yeah, I like to go to the, college games, W games, Unrivaled, and Upshot League is actually starting soon. And one of the cities is my city. So I'll be going to those games too. So yeah, I love to be there.
Nah, I'm looking
In the
forward to that because I don't really know much about Upshot.
Yeah, I do. I've made a few videos about it, but it's coming and I'm excited about it.
Yeah. So if you don't know, your first time tuning in to me, I'm Coach C, Cassie Chantel. Welcome to the Hoops Tribe, and we're getting ready to talk hoops. I actually know a secret, guys. ARP, you don't have your bracket set. Like, what is going on? The games are
Okay,
starting.
listen, I am diagnosed ADHD, a professional procrastinator, but what I do know is that it will be done prior to the first game. And I'll probably have 2 brackets. Yeah,
Right.
likely.
I ain't gonna hold you. I got like 3 brackets just because. Okay, so before I even go any further, because people gonna be like, "Oh, you not loyal. You got 3 brackets. Like, what's on these brackets?" First of all, when I do these breakdowns, I think with so many different parts of my brain. Like, I'm thinking with my fan brain, thinking with my coach brain. I want to be logical sometimes, and then sometimes I just want to like chaos. So that's why I have so many brackets. I also have a group. So if you want to join a group for this and have a lot of fun, right now my bracket is my group is popping. So I'll send you the link for that just in case
Okay.
you want to do that. So since ARP doesn't have her bracket together, we're gonna go through each round and just see. We're gonna do some rapid fire. So regional one is
Yes.
UConn's region.
Yes.
I don't even know who UTSA is. But
Me either.
UConn's playing UTSA. Who do you pick?
Between UConn and UConn.
Iowa State and Syracuse.
I've got Syracuse. I do. I've got an upset right out the gate.
Let's talk about that.
Okay.
So, how do you feel about Syracuse?
I mean, I've seen them play a few times, and Iowa State to me has just been so inconsistent throughout the year. So I think it could go either way, but I'm feeling like it could be an upset. So I'm like, as I was looking at the brackets and looking at the things, I'm like, there are going to be upsets. And a lot of times when I'm building my bracket, I'm like always picking who should win. So that was just one of them that I think that they can, because we've seen so many times where teams are able to contain Audie Crooks, right? So she's not going to have 80 points. She might get her 25 or 30, but if you can contain her and take care of the rest of the folks on Iowa State, it's possible.
It's possible. And I like Syracuse. I've seen them a couple of times. Actually, their GM is my old AAU teammate. So shout out
And
to
you're not rooting for them?
Oh, yeah. In one of my brackets, no. See, she gonna fight me when she sees it. No, I do have y'all winning. I have Syracuse winning in one of my brackets, but I'm
Okay.
just like in my bracket where I'm like being like more of a fan. I'm saying Iowa State because I don't know if they have what they need to contain Audie Crooks. Like I have seen this season. I think Baylor did a really good job with Audie.
Yeah.
There have been teams, like you said, that can control her, but I don't know if Syracuse has that. But if they do, because I like Coach Jack. I think that she's an awesome coach. I can see that upset. I'm with you. That was not okay. So Maryland versus Murray State.
Maryland.
North Carolina versus West Illinois.
North Carolina.
Notre Dame versus Fairfield.
Notre Dame.
Ohio State versus Howard.
Unfortunately, Ohio State. I would love to see
HBCU.
HBCU move further in the brackets, but It's gonna be Ohio State.
Shout out to them, man.
Yeah.
Illinois versus Colorado.
Ooh, oh, I feel like that's another toss-up. Ooh, that's the tough one. I think this gonna be split in my different brackets, in my different so I'll just say Illinois for this one.
Vanderbilt versus High Point.
Vanderbilt.
Okay, so we're moving on to Region 2. This is UCLA's region. UCLA versus CA Baptist.
UCLA.
Oklahoma State versus Princeton.
Oklahoma State.
Ole Miss versus Gonzaga.
Ole Miss.
Minnesota versus Green Bay.
Minnesota.
I always think of that song, Cold Like Minnesota. Like every time, I can't not think of that. Baylor versus Nebraska.
Uh,
You questioning that?
Imma go with Baylor. I mean, Nebraska's had some good games, and Baylor has had some losses they shouldn't have had, but it should be Baylor. It should be a no issue Baylor. But I just seen Baylor quite a bit this year, and sometimes it's like, what's going on? They don't look like the team that they are.
Baylor, she doubting y'all. I just want to say that's her.
I
I got
actually,
y'all
you
winning
know
in
what?
every bracket.
And their star player went to school like right around the corner from where I live, for high school. But yeah, it'll be Baylor. It'll be Baylor.
Okay, Duke versus Charleston.
Duke.
Texas Tech versus Villanova.
I'm gonna say Texas Tech.
LSU versus Jacksonville.
You know what, Jacksonville? LSU.
You said that like you was
Jacksonville.
about to say something crazy.
No.
Region 3. This is Texas.
Yep.
Texas versus Missouri State.
Texas.
Oregon versus Virginia Tech. This was hard.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with Virginia Tech. And I just saw them play a couple weeks ago. I feel like it was against North Carolina, and it was like down to the wire, like maybe even overtime. But I'm gonna go with Virginia Tech.
Okay.
I'm also from Virginia, so
Oh, yeah. I don't did we know that? Did we know?
I don't think y'all knew
I
that.
think we thought you were from Florida.
I'm from Virginia.
That's a cool fact that we probably just found out for the first time. I'm sure I'm not the only one. Kentucky versus James Madison.
Kentucky.
West Virginia versus Miami OH.
West Virginia.
What is Miami OH?
I have never heard of that. I don't know what that could mean.
Miami, Ohio? Okay, because I was thinking OH was Ohio, but I didn't know that there was a Miami.
Oh, me
Ohio.
either.
Geography, see?
Exactly.
Alabama versus Rhode Island.
Alabama.
Louisville versus Vermont.
Louisville.
NC State versus Tennessee.
NC State. By 20.
By
Tennessee season been over for about a month.
NC State by 20.
At least.
Michigan versus Holy Cross.
Michigan.
Do you remember Holy Cross, though? You remember when they made that TikTok and they were like, it ain't no roaches
Yes.
here or nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
They were so happy to get blown out. I think they were playing Iowa.
It was some big school, and they were like, yeah, which, you know, is sad, but hey.
They just happy to be here. All right, so our favorite region, well, my favorite region anyway, Region 4, right, South Carolina's region. So South Carolina is playing SOU/SAM. I don't know what that means. Who's that?
I don't know.
Southern Oregon University.
Okay, yeah. Okay. So South Carolina.
We knew.
And I'm glad those people are getting their degrees. I'm happy for them, but yeah.
And I think they get a little bonus for making it that far.
Yeah, they do. I forgot about that.
Yeah, shout out to them for stimulating the economy.
There you go.
Clemson versus USC.
Ooh,
that's a tough one.
That is. I want to say USC, but I don't believe in them.
I know.
Like I don't, unfortunately they don't have the pieces this year. So I'm going to say Clemson.
So while we're talking about USC, I want to know your feelings on Jazzy Davidson. Do you think that she has been the best freshman in NCAA basketball this season?
Yeah, I mean, she's definitely up there. I'm like, who else are the top freshmen?
ESPN has only been talking about Jazzy Davidson.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
and Aaliyah Chavez. Like, those have been the top two. But I don't think, for me, it's Aubrey Galvin.
Okay.
Vanderbilt. But I just wanted to know who's on your radar for that.
I don't know that I've really been tracking it outside of Jazzy and Aaliyah, because that's who they've been talking about, But I do know who you're talking about, and she has been having an incredible year. And maybe because she's on Vanderbilt and that team is being highlighted, maybe she's in, it's a possibility. But the clicks are for Jazzy, probably.
I guess it's like the hype coming out of high school.
Yeah.
Feeds into it. But I'm like, how do they just get these freshmen that they just want to like latch onto the whole season? It's like you're not even looking at anybody else, because when we look at the stats, I think Aubrey Galvin's stats are like right there holistically. Like Jazzy and Aaliyah might score more, like higher volume. They're higher volume shooters. Like Aubrey doesn't have to score as much because her
Mhm.
teammate is Michaela Blake's, but she's doing
Right.
everything else and she's still efficient. So I just wish they
Mhm.
spread the promo wealth a little bit more with that comp.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Moving on. Michigan
Okay.
State versus Colorado State.
Michigan State.
Oklahoma versus Idaho.
Oklahoma.
Washington versus South Dakota State.
Washington.
TCU versus UC San Diego.
TCU.
Georgia versus UVA/ASU.
Georgia.
Iowa versus FDU.
Iowa.
We just helped lay the foundation for the brackets. So I hope that gets you
Yes.
jump started into building your own brackets. I know you're probably going to have multiple and maybe even have different scenarios because there was a couple of matchups you were like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So with that said, one of the first matchups that is going to lead into the round of 32, since we're already in Region 4, I want to talk about Georgia versus Iowa just a little bit. Who do you think takes the Georgia versus Iowa matchup?
I think Georgia could do it. I've loved watching them all year. They've been just this close on quite a few games, and I think that they have like that dog in them. Like it make like the way that they hustle. It's just like an extra oomph because the talent-wise, Iowa should win. I mean, they should. But I think Georgia could pull it off. Now, I'm thinking that this region is gonna come down to TCU and South Carolina. I know
I
I
do
jumped
think,
ahead.
yeah. No, yeah, I do think it's gonna come down to South Carolina versus TCU. But I think that
Okay.
if Georgia gets past Iowa,
Mhm.
they will really have to fight against TCU.
Yeah.
Seen TCU a few times this season. And I want to say, I might get some flack for this. I think
Okay.
they get a lot of hype because of what Olivia Miles can do
Sure.
independently as a player. But I think that
Right.
they're overhyped and collectively, like where I somewhat disagree with you on is I think Georgia is a more talented team than Iowa.
Oh.
With that said, I think that they have what they need to play a close game against TCU. What it's gonna come down to for me with Georgia is their execution. Like sometimes they steer a little away from the game plan, but I think
Mhm.
later in the season those things started to come together, which is why they were able to get some upsets against
Right.
those ranked teams. So
Right.
Georgia could surprise some people. I mean, Danny Carnegie has been one of the best players in the
Absolutely.
game, period. And I
Yeah,
feel like we don't
definitely.
talk about that enough.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's definitely possible. I mean, TCU's had some games where I mean, I would agree with you. I think that they're a little overhyped. I only watched maybe 3 or 4 of their games, but some of them were too close that shouldn't have been. They had quite a few like within the last 5-second wins, which is also something to say about a team that can win in those close.
Right, that's true. And then they're also gonna have to make it past Washington, which Washington is not a team to sleep on,
Mhm.
as I've seen them play some good basketball this season. So all of that to say,
Absolutely.
I am not completely bought into the TCU magic, should I say. I'm not
Sure.
sold on that. So with that said, what matchup are you looking forward to the most? Like which scenario are you anticipating?
In this region,
Just in general, like the
oh,
whole.
in I'm looking forward to that possible LSU UCLA. It's always nice to see a SEC team play across the water. Well, not across the water, but like UCLA has been just like beating everyone by 30 over there,
Right.
and
Except
it
for
would have
Michigan.
been nice. Yes, yes, it would be nice to see them play an SEC team. Now, there's a lot of people who feel like this is a guaranteed UCLA win, and then of course there's LSU fans because that seems to be the people who are, pushing for LSU. But I just think it'll be a great game in general because there's such different teams, guard heavy versus a turn and layup bets. Who is going to stop that? Are they going to get in foul trouble? And so I think that'll be an exciting game to see. I mean, people are hyping up the UConn Vanderbilt game. I just don't think Vanderbilt's going to be anywhere near a
No.
close game. I mean, maybe they'll be within 15, but I don't see it being like a down to the wire game. I don't care how great Michaela plays. It has to still be a full team effort. And they've got to stop too many people, in my opinion, on UConn's team. It's just too many of like, okay, AZ's not hitting it tonight. On to the next.
Right.
It's like Michaela doesn't have a great night. Maybe they've got 2 people after that could pick up the slack, but not 6 or 8. I mean, his bench is like the deepest it's probably ever been in recent years. So South Carolina, I mean, there's not anyone in their region that I'm like, oh, this will be good. But South Carolina can also be inconsistent at times and have a close game that completely shouldn't be. So I do worry that they should get through this region relatively easy, but it'll be a random team like Michigan State they'll win by 3. And then over in the Texas region, Texas, possible Kentucky would be a good game. I freaking love Clara's track. I love her, and it's like her versus Madison Booker, or sometimes Texas feels really small in their talent, even though they do well. It just feels like after maybe 4 people, I don't know the rest of the roster. And if I'm watching games every week, I think Texas has a tougher path. I mean, Louisville as well. Yeah, I think there's some quite a few really good matchups that I'll be looking forward to. Also, potentially Ole Miss against whoever they play, because I just love watching them play, and they're like Georgia to me. Like, they just surprise people because they'll have a breakout game, and you're like, where was this 3 games ago? Where was this when you needed that 25 points from that player? They could, wiggle their way to a Sweet 16 or something like that. I don't think they're gonna, make it to the Final Four or anything like that, but they could potentially upset some folks.
They're in a
So,
tough region, and I wanna go back to I just wanna mention the Texas-Kentucky matchup because one player that we don't talk about a lot is Toni Morgan. And I
okay.
think it's because she has some inconsistencies, but when she's at her best,
Mm,
with me, y'all, walk with me, because I know this might piss some people off, but when she's at her best, watch Toni Morgan. She reminds me of a young Jackie Young. If she can find some consistency, like her bag is in the way that she moves and can get to the rim and manipulate in the air,
mhm.
she
Yeah.
reminds me of Jackie Young.
Okay.
So she could have a breakout game, but I think that is gonna be close, to be honest. I think Texas versus Kentucky
Okay.
will not be close. If Texas plays the way that we know that Texas can play, but they
For
can also
sure.
show up like how they showed up against Vanderbilt. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
you can see the
If they
upset.
show up like they did against Vanderbilt, Kentucky has a chance, but you're right. Texas at their best can't beat Kentucky at their best.
Right.
Texas would have to be having a bad game internally, and Kentucky's having a good game.
Right. And so Tony Wells actually asked us a question that you kinda touched on with
Okay.
UCLA, but what would UConn's record be if they played in the SEC?
I saw that. I saw that. Not undefeated. I don't think that they would be undefeated, because having to play top tier talent back to back is just a strain on you as a team. Doesn't mean that, let's say, if they lost to, an Oklahoma or whoever, it doesn't mean that LSU is necessarily better than a UCLA or UConn, sorry, or that even South Carolina or whatever. But to go through an entire season in the SEC, no way. I don't think so. I really don't. I think it would have been like a miracle for them to have made it through. Could they? Yes, they could have. But I think it would have been like some games that were won by 2, or last minute free throw or
Right.
something like that. I don't think they would have been clobbering through the SEC the way, of course, they do in the Big East, because that's like a joke of a region.
Like,
For
imagine if UConn had that Texas schedule where they play South Carolina, they play LSU, they play, like, was
Mhm.
it Ole Miss? They play, like, a
In the
bunch
same week.
in the same week. That is a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
So, I definitely think their record would be something similar to, like, how South Carolina
Yeah.
and Texas is right now, like, they lost 2 or 3 games or something.
Yeah.
But they could have an undefeated season just like how South Carolina did, and that was
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, and yeah, exactly. So it would have been possible, but I think less likely. Because we did see, I mean, I watched UConn a few times just because the games are boring with blowouts for me, but there were games where you could see defense working on them and them getting, a little discombobulated, and like, but that team wasn't good enough. So it didn't matter that they had a bad quarter. So I'm thinking, like, if that was a South Carolina or Texas or LSU, they would have took advantage of that, scored an additional 20 points, and now it would have been maybe a little bit tougher for UConn.
So Kathleen Ritter asked us, are conference tournaments necessary or desirable at this point? Because while we're talking about this, I'm also thinking like maybe it benefited South Carolina to lose
Yeah.
because now they're in a region that is favorable. What are your
Mhm.
thoughts on the tournaments and are they necessary or desirable?
I think they're desirable as far as a fan. Like, we love to see, okay, now it's this additional tournament that if you weren't able to make it to the games all year long, maybe you can make it to the tournament. I think it's always good for the team that's progressively gotten better. We have some, not maybe not necessarily in the SEC, but in some other regions, you'll have a team that was a Cinderella that wins the conference, and now they're going to the big dance when maybe their record wouldn't have gotten them there. So I do like that because teams do get better over the course of the season. Maybe you lost, I think, what was Duke, 3-6 back in December, and then turned it around. I mean, granted, they won their conference, but if they hadn't, and let's say they hadn't had the greatest season, they're still good enough to be in the big dance, but that would have maybe guaranteed it. I mean, I kind of agree with Coach Yo. It's crazy in the region that, or in the conference they're in, because it's like, man, we're having to get beat up before then going into March Madness when UConn is like having practice for a week with their Big East teams to win their conference. But I think it's not necessarily necessary, but I do like that that's in place for those teams that can win the conference and then go into the March Madness.
Surprise, I'm gonna have to disagree with Coach Yo and you, and
Oh, no.
because I just feel like it's necessary. I feel like you learn so much about yourself by being in the heat, in the thick of it, and playing those back-to-back games. You don't learn how you react under pressure until you're actually put
Mhm.
into those situations. And
Okay.
you look at like how the tournament is structured, it's similar to what it's going to look like when you get to NCAA tournament play. And
Sure.
you still get the bragging rights, and that's where the rivalries are built in those conference tournaments. So I think that it's
Mhm.
necessary for both the teams and the players, and the only unicorn in all of this is the Big East because it
Yeah.
it is I think it's unfair for us to a certain extent to always talk about, "Oh, the SEC is so tough," because it's like the ACC is also tough. And
Sure. Sure.
the Big Ten can be tough. Like there are conferences that have strong teams and they play competitive basketball, and I don't think they play any less physical than the SEC. The SEC just has these powerhouse teams, and I don't know. I just think that we may, for respect purposes, reframe how we're talking about the SEC because I think we could be coming off a little elitist, but that's just me.
I know last time I looked, which was probably a month ago, I think there were 10 ranked SEC teams. And then I think Big Ten was next with like 4 or 5, and then it goes down from there. So even just statistically, it is the toughest conference. I mean, that's not an
But like the
opinion.
numbers say,
Yeah, the numbers say you're rolling the dice and you're playing a ranked team all season long in the SEC. Maybe every third or fourth game in other conferences are a ranked team. So yeah, I'm sure they're trying real hard and they're putting their heart out there, but if you're not ranked at all and you're just, you're there for your degree, that's what a lot of those other schools are in these other conferences. It's just not the level of that the top 25 teams are. And for 10 of them, most of the season to be in one conference that has how many teams are in the SEC? 15? That's a huge percentage. I think at one time it was just UConn. I think it was just UConn the whole time in the Big East. And then, yeah, Big 10 and Big 12. I mean, they got a tough game every other week. Maybe. Every SEC, every matchup is like, "Holy cow, what is gonna happen?" You know? So, but I agree though. I like that they have the conference championships. I wouldn't want them to get rid of it, that's for sure.
so we've talked about the NC State and Tennessee matchup. So we have to talk about what are your thoughts on Kim Caldwell? This one comes from Zach Baker. He wants to know your opinions on Kim Caldwell in Tennessee and their losing streak being one of the longest evers. And there's also another question about from Tiffany Moe about transfer portal predictions. And I feel like that kind of ties into Tennessee just
Mhm.
because of all the things. So I'm interested on what you think about Tennessee and if you have any transfer portal predictions.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Talasia Cooper's out of there. Out of there. She was probably on the bus to leave after that last loss, like, immediately. I don't know that there was a need to fire the previous coach. I mean, granted, we all watched the game, we all saw the terrible defensive nonstop. I mean, yes, that was absolutely insane. But I don't know that that was worth her job just to replace her with what seems like about the same tiered coach. And then that first year, Kim Caldwell went to the Sweet 16, but that was based off the team that the last coach built. That's also when Ruby was still on the team. So that makes sense. Like they are a Sweet 16 team if she was still playing, possibly. I just don't like her decision making. I'm not a fan of her coaching style. I think she's a nice person. I'm sure she is. I think this program is too big for her. I don't know how or what the scenario was with, interviewing, but you are Tennessee. So no different than South Carolina, UConn. You get the cream of the crop. You get the top of the top. You get to choose. And that was their decision. I don't know that that was the best decision. I think she would probably be better at those schools we didn't know about, you know, Miami, Ohio, or something, like not Tennessee. The legacy of Tennessee is too great, and just some of the gaffes that she said throughout the year was just like, did she have media training? Because it just seems like, oh, that was a bonehead thing to say, or, oh, that's not really how I felt. And I was like, you need media training because some of these things, sure, coaches are going to show their displeasure. I mean, Vic does it, right? LSU, she does. I mean, they do it, right? Sometimes they're just frustrated in the press conference, but some of the things that she said for me, just as you played basketball as a former athlete, it would completely defeat my want to even play hard for you. The way that she was speaking about them, whether she thought that or not, it's a different way to communicate that to your team, and especially not to, say, oh, that my team quits on you. And like in the press conference, I just can't imagine wanting to show up for practice other than like, okay, I got to keep my scholarship and just my respect for myself. But I think she lost respect. I don't know that how she would get it back, you know? And then when the players transfer that are going to transfer, whoever's left is still going to be feeling slighted, And it's just, to me, it just doesn't seem like it's going to be productive unless she just completely had a new team. Obviously she can't do that. I don't know that Tennessee is going to pay her out or, it's one bad season, but like all the wrong records, right? Like lost by the most points since or ever. Ever? I mean, holy cow. Like the record was in 1986, I think.
You said ever?
She probably didn't even know that was the last time they were beat by 40 or whatever the number was. And then it was like the most losses in a row. And as they continued to lose, I just could tell in their faces and their demeanors and in just all the things that they were going to lose the game as soon as the tip off started. You could just tell. Even when they were beating somebody, I can't remember who it was. Maybe it was Vanderbilt they were beating the first 2 quarters, and I was like, "They're not gonna win the game. They don't know how to finish.
They don't know
They're
how
not
to
being
win.
coached well. They're just not going to, and they also didn't have enough depth either, even though she did that whole 5 in, 5 out, which I hated. It felt like middle school. Like, I gotta make sure all the kids get in because parents are like, "Girl, just coach."
Yeah.
People get time based on how they get time. And if they can't, and if she was doing that, and I don't know what her reasoning was, but if she was doing it for conditioning purposes, then they need to be in better shape because
No,
what are you
she's
doing?
actually doing it because that's how she was coached. She got that from her former
Did
college.
they win?
I
I, I,
actually do not know.
I want her to say, we won 4 state titles by swapping out 5 people. Bam,
That's
bam,
a
bam.
good point, y'all. Chat, did she win?
Did
I mean,
she win with that?
but she
Or was
did
it just,
win. Okay, so she did win as a D2 coach. She won a championship as a D2 coach, and I believe that she
okay.
was still using this substitution. Here's the thing. I don't hate the substitutions. I don't hate the
Okay.
hockey line sub because for the most part, Talasha Cooper is still getting more minutes than anyone. And I think that for the
Yeah.
most part, she leaves the people in when they need to be left in. But I do think that sometimes every player doesn't work well in that system because some players do need more time on the court to get
Yeah.
comfortable in the system. Now, where I think is a big red flag is the player that quits in the middle of the season, the fifth year senior. And literally,
Yeah.
I just watched this happen because y'all know I'm in the youth coach atmosphere. I literally just watched a senior in high school quit their team in the middle of the season because the coach did not play them on senior night. So I
Mm,
know that that is a real thing, that players feel that, and it's like, even if they're not the best player on the team,
yeah,
they still
yeah,
dedicated their life to this program, and a fifth-year senior who spent their entire career at Tennessee, players don't do that anymore.
exactly.
Oh, after 1 season now, you have to
Absolutely.
show that more respect, and it's like, just go, you already substitute 5 and 5, like,
Yeah,
why not just throw her in there? There's literally no reason for you to not play her in the beginning of the game. So, I don't see them rectifying that at all. And speaking of transfers, I know that Tennessee isn't gonna be the only team that's experiencing transfers. We got LSU who just lost their recruiting coach, and Gary,
uh,
he's going over to Rutgers. Do you think that
mhm.
anybody from LSU is gonna follow him?
Ooh, I can see him getting a couple of people because every year Kim's had folks leave that were decent, you know? And for them, I think, like, who was the one player, the big that left? I saw her playing,
Del
and
Rosario?
she's yes, and she's getting time. Like, she's out on the floor and she's playing. Yeah, I mean, more than LSU, more than she was at LSU. So I think some of them just truly want to play the game. You know, no different than when people leave South Carolina, right? They're just like, they love Coach Don, they love South Carolina, but practicing however many times a week, weight training, all the things that they're doing, the commitment, and then to get no at all zero time. Yeah, there's going to be some people that a couple people that probably follow him to LSU, especially with Flage leaving. Even though Kim recruits amazing and will have plenty of people to replace her and stuff like that. Yeah, I think there might be a couple people that follow.
You know, the only person I can really see doing that is Kaylin Gilbert if they give her another season, because she really didn't play this
She
season for, like,
didn't.
personal reasons. So if they grant her another season, I can see her going because there's just so many guards on
Yeah.
LSU. But I just think that the NIL money and the
Oh,
limelight is
true.
way too big at LSU to wanna
It
leave for
is.
Rutgers. You just gotta really love the game to wanna be like, "You know what? I'm
Well,
gonna."
last year she left last year.
Yes, she did, but she wasn't getting, she's a guard, and she wasn't getting a lot of playing time. I feel like
Right.
guards have more, like, a reason to
True.
leave,
Yeah.
than anybody, but I'll be interested to see. So, I wanna close this out on a good question. This one
Okay.
is from Brooks MUA.
Okay.
She says, "Now this is the duo we needed." You know, shout out to her. "Talk about which number 1 seed y'all think is the most vulnerable, and if
Mm,
y'all," well, we already answered the transfer portal surprises. So, which number
yeah.
1 seed do you feel is the most vulnerable?
I'm gonna say Texas. I know what? There's all number ones. There's no
Elaborate,
good answer.
elaborate. Come on, because people are gonna fry you for this. Why is Texas
Okay,
so vulnerable?
UConn is that's happening. I also don't think South Carolina is going to have any issues. I think they're gonna make it to the Final Four like no issue. Now UCLA, I was thinking, okay, maybe UCLA because we really haven't seen them play competition a few times, but not like consistently. So really, I think UCLA or Texas, but I think Texas has more competition in their region than well, it's probably about the same because Duke could surprise us,
Yeah.
LSU, maybe Minnesota, and then over on, and then you got Michigan, Louisville, Kentucky. So I think they both have three teams that like it could happen. So I'm gonna say Texas. I'm not a Texas hater, by the way.
You know, I actually like Texas. I just like bothering people that like Vic Schaefer. But I will say this, I'm gonna do a friendly wager because y'all know I'm not a betting stud. But if Texas for some reason wins the championship, I'm gonna say praise the Lord and hook 'em horns for at the end of every video for a month.
Oh gosh,
I'm
yeah,
letting y'all know that if Texas for some reason mess around and win the championship, which in one of my brackets I do have that happening, because I do think that I've been saying all season that Texas has the best defense in the game. I think that Texas's defense is better than UConn's, and people will fight me on that because you know UConn sexuals are out here, but Texas has the best defense.
yeah.
No one can change my mind on that. So I think the most vulnerable number 1 team is UCLA for
Okay,
sure, because I saw with Michigan how Michigan was able to rally the troops and get back in the game. Really, they
yeah,
never were so much out of it. UCLA did keep the hammer down, But the fact that
Yeah.
you let the game start to slip away in the final moments, let me
Mhm.
see a little, crack there, and they also lost to Texas earlier in the season.
They did. Yeah.
So, out of anybody, since they don't get that pressure on them all the time, I think that
Right.
they're the most vulnerable.
Okay.
Now, I can say, even though this is my team, South Carolina be scaring me sometimes. And I
Mhm.
know that we're only, it's one and done. So
Right.
the only game that gives me a little worry in their region is the potential matchup against Oklahoma, because we did lose to Oklahoma earlier in
Mhm.
the season, but I really think that game was a fluke.
I watched that game and I was just it was like they couldn't get it going. It was them. It wasn't Oklahoma's causing this
Right.
decline of play. It was literally them just not playing their game. So I don't even see it being close if they play Oklahoma.
Right. I do think that this is gonna be the redeemed game, but for if some reason South
Mhm.
Carolina shows up and they're sluggish for whatever reason, that
Yeah.
game it could have some issues because Aaliyah Chavez can just go off and just start hitting
Yes.
6 threes in a row. Reagan
Yeah.
Williams can be putting elbows in everybody's throat, but we have to put
Do.
Joyce has to play Reagan Beers because that was the better matchup, but they didn't make
Yeah.
that adjustment until,
Mhm.
like, late in the game, and by that time, it was too late. I think people were in foul trouble. So
Right.
we can't have any slippage. Sometimes Medina Akai has some slippage on her defense that
Yeah.
really leaves South Carolina vulnerable. So out of the 4 number ones, the 2 number ones that have the most vulnerable spots that I see, UCLA 1 and unfortunately South Carolina 2 for me.
Okay. Okay. Makes sense.
They're gonna
Did you
frost.
see Obama's bracket?
No, I did not see Obama's what did he say?
He has Final Four, UConn, South Carolina, Texas. He has the number ones, I believe, and then he has UConn winning.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
shout out to the president. I just can't see another Final Four. Like, people want me to see LSU beating UCLA. I know that it could happen, but I just don't see it happening. I just don't see
Right.
any other Final Four scenario, but I'll be interested to see how it all goes. I'm excited. Are you
Me
excited?
too. I'm super excited. I have no tickets to no games though, so I don't know, but I'll end up at 1 or 2 of them.
We know it. You're gonna be courtside, giving us the tea, what's going on behind the bench or something. I
Come
already
on.
know.
I'm accepting it. Let's take it. Let's go.
Oh, but I appreciate your time and for coming
Of
on and talking hoops with
course.
Hoops Tribe. Y'all make sure y'all say thank you in the comment section. This was fun. We gotta have her back. We gotta have her back. So make sure y'all say nice things
Definitely.
in the comments so we can do this again. But as always, folks, let's talk hoops.